If you're a business owner, you're not just a leader. You're a professional juggler, right? You're dealing with supply chains, customer moods, your team's morale. Every single day brings a new set of challenges. It can feel like you're just constantly putting out fires. But what if you could actually get ahead of the chaos? What if you could build a system that turns all that uncertainty into one of your biggest strengths? Well, that's exactly what we're going to build today.
So let me ask you this, and just take a second to really think about it. What's the one thing that could unravel everything you've worked so hard to build? I'm talking about that threat that's kind of lurking just out of sight, the one you just haven't had time to worry about yet. For most people, the honest answer is a little scary because they just don't know.
And that kind of uncertainty, well, it leads to this. A pretty shocking number, actually. Over 40% of small business owners have absolutely no insurance. That's almost half of all entrepreneurs out there basically just gambling their entire livelihood against one single fire, one freak accident, one lawsuit. It's a huge and honestly a totally unnecessary risk to take. But listen, it absolutely does not have to be this way. Moving from just worrying about risk to actually managing it, well, that's the first real step toward building a business that can weather any storm. So today, we're not just going to talk theory, we are building your practical playbook for handling risk.
Okay, first things first, we have to get specific. If we're going to manage risk, we have to stop thinking of it as just this vague, anxious feeling and start defining it like a pro.
So here's the professional definition of risk. And I want you to notice something really important in there: positive or negative uncertainty. See, in business, risk isn't just about what could go wrong. It's also about the uncertainty around things going right. Like, what if you launch a new product and it's so successful you can't keep up? That's a risk too. Understanding both sides is absolutely crucial. And that idea leads us to two basic types of risk. Knowing the difference between them is the key to figuring out how to handle them. On one hand, you've got pure risk. That's the classic bad stuff we worry about. And on the other, you have speculative risk, which really is the whole reason you got into business in the first place. Let's break them down. So, pure risk is pretty simple. The only possible outcomes are a loss or no loss. There's zero chance to make a profit here. Think about Mr. Smith's dessert business. A fire in his kitchen, his oven breaking down, the delivery van getting into an accident. Those are all pure risks. You can't profit from a fire, right? This is exactly where things like insurance are designed to step in and give you that safety net. Now, speculative risk, that's the name of the game in business. With this, you could have a loss, no loss, or, and this is the big one, a gain. This is the risk you take on purpose because you're trying to grow. So let's say Miss Johnson's company invests a couple million in new equipment. If demand goes through the roof, profits do too. That's the gain. But if the market changes, that investment could become a loss. You can't buy an insurance policy for a business decision that just didn't work out. That's speculative risk. So how do the pros handle all this? Well, they don't just cross their fingers and hope for the best. They use a structured, repeatable process. And this 5-step system we're about to look at is your safety net. It turns those fuzzy, abstract threats into a concrete, manageable plan. And here it is, the 5-step risk management process. It goes identification, analysis, control, financing, and administration. But the most important thing to remember is that this is a continuous loop, okay? It's not a checklist you do once. This is the engine that's going to power a truly resilient business. Let's just quickly run through what these mean. Identification is basically brainstorming everything that could possibly go wrong. This is the most critical step because you can't manage a risk you don't even know you have. Analysis is where you ask, okay, how likely is this to happen and how bad would it be if it did? Control is all about what you do to stop it from happening in the first place. Financing is your plan for how to pay for it if it happens anyway. This is where insurance fits in. And administration is just making sure this whole process stays up to date. All right, to really use that process, you've got to speak the language. And honestly, just understanding a few key terms is going to completely change how you see your own business. It's all about empowering you to take control. So the first and most important word you need to know is exposure. Just think of it this way. If you can lose it, it's an exposure. Simple as that. This means your physical stuff, your people, your income, anything that's open to a potential loss. For example, let's take a boutique hotel. The building itself is a super obvious exposure. But what about the guests, the employees, the elevator, the swimming pool out back, even the valet service? Every single one of those is a potential source of loss that needs to be managed. Okay, now let's clear up two words that people mix up all the time:
Peril and hazard. A peril is the cause of the loss. So the fire, the fall, the theft, that's the peril. A hazard is anything that makes that peril more likely to happen. Faulty wiring is a hazard that leads to the peril of a fire. A spill in an aisle is the hazard that leads to the peril of someone falling. And here's the real takeaway for you. You manage the hazards to prevent the perils.
So we've talked about the concepts, we've walked through the process, and we've learned the language. Now, it all comes back to one thing: your business. We've gone from these big ideas to the practical reality of what you're building. So, is it really protected?
And this definition really just says it all, doesn't it? At the end of the day, risk management is just a formal process, and it's designed to do one thing: minimize the uncertainty that threatens everything you've built, your assets, and your financial security. It's not about getting rid of risk, because you can't. It's about taking control of it. So, I'll leave you with this thought. Being an entrepreneur is always going to involve taking some calculated risks. That's part of the fun. But protecting your future, that should never be a game of chance. You have the playbook now. The only question left is, are you ready to use it?